this time, I'd like to ask Peter Coyle, on behalf of Bobby Daigle, to come forward and induct Bobby. Robert Bobby Daigle is an excellent example of what Bartlett Pride is all about. Determination, dedication, commitment. Bob was a three-sport athlete during his high school days, playing football, basketball, and golf. However, he is most revered for the years following his return to Bartlett in 1979, serving as a highly influential teacher, coach, and advisor until becoming an administrator in 1990. He positively impacted over a decade of athletes and students at Bartlett High School. While serving as a coach on the staffs of Jim Healy and Hall of Fame coach Rini Langevin, Bob's effectiveness as an offensive coordinator was exceptional, resulting in many big wins. Even more impressive, though, was the special relationships he developed with many of the athletes. When speaking to former players from Bob's era, and we certainly heard some of that tonight, most will tell you that Bob Daigle is at the top of the list of coaches who made a significant difference in their lives. He was often described as an inspirational leader who knew just how to get every ounce of effort out of each of his players. Bob also promoted independent thinking and problem solving by his athletes rather than simply having a do-as-I-say mentality. He always wanted them to understand why they were doing something rather than just doing it. To Bob, the intangible qualities were far more important than the tangibles of stats and winning games. These influences extended beyond the field and into the school day, where as a teacher and later administrator, Bob always maintained that student-first attitude. He had an outstanding appreciation for the uniqueness of each of his students. Bob also served as a class advisor, and his commitment and genuine interest in the entire class's success was readily apparent. This allowed Bob to develop the same special relationships with all students in the school. Unfortunately, Bob's time at Bartlett was cut devastatingly short in 1991 when he suffered a heart attack at the young age of 37 while working out in the school weight room. Bob's untimely passing left a huge void in the school and the community, among his athletes, students, and beyond. His legendary and iconic status among all paths that he crossed at Bartlett led to the following student being made after his passing. The spirit and values promoted by Bob through his entire life have a profound impact on many. We, your former students and players, continue to honor your example and memory. This quote speaks to the legacy that Bob Daigle left on the countless lives he touched in his time at Bartlett High School. Bob left behind his wife Diane and their three children, Heath, Kristen, and Lauren. At this time, I'd like to ask Peter Coyle, on behalf of Bobby Daigle, to please step forward and induct Bobby into the Bartlett Athletic Hall of Fame.
In this spot tonight, and just to listen to just the great tradition is unbelievable. Good evening. Thank you, Ted Avlis, on another entertaining and terrific job. Well done in leading the Hall of Fame program tonight. And a warm welcome to Bartlett's new principal, Peter Cushing. Since everyone else almost showed their fondness for the two tables here, I've got to tell you that the group behind them, which was our group in age, always looked up to these two tables as the measuring stick, so you guys did a good job. Congratulations to tonight's ninth induction class, honoring all of your achievements through your hard work and perseverance while you were all student athletes at Bartlett High School. The committee is recognizing all of you for the legacy you've created when you wore the green and white with so much Indian pride. It is truly an honor to share Bob Daigle's legacy with you tonight. If you listened, there were a lot of speakers that came up and mentioned his name. I am truly, truly humbled to be up here to try to get that message across. Bob is a childhood friend whom I have had the opportunities to share so many life's experience, starting at the age of 5 in 1958. In accepting this well-deserved award for Bob on behalf of the Daigle family, with Bob's sister Lucille and her husband Gary Graves, who are here with us tonight, and the rest of the Daigle contingency, and in the spirits of Dorothy and Joseph Daigle, Bob's parents, who supported their children so much with love and enthusiasm. Also, Bob's children, Heath, Lauren, and Kristen, and Bob's grandchildren, who wish they could be here tonight to share in their father's everlasting legacy. Bob graduated in 1972 from Bartlett, where he was an accomplished athlete. He was a co-captain of the football and basketball teams and captain of the golf teams. Bob Daigle's life touched so many as a tireless, loyal inspiration to everyone he came in contact with in his short 37 years of life. He was born to lead, and in 1968, he led the Webster Pop Warner football team as they flew across country to face the California state champ. Bob, from his quarterback position, led the town of Webster to a miraculous comeback in the fourth quarter on the West Coast. Daigle put Webster on the national football map with his late game heroics. Just imagine if they had that today with the social media. Bob would have been offered a full scholarship to the University of Southern California. Finding the solution was Bob Daigle's modus operandi. Let's make the best of it, he would say. He lived with a constant chronic heart defect from the age of 22 in 1976 until his untimely death at the age of 37 in 1991. Bob accepted the heart defect and put the Daigle faith at the center of his day-to-day life. To make it crystal clear, Bob's son Heath is 37 years old today. And when we saw Heath at his grandmother Dorothy Daigle's celebration of life this past August, I had to pinch myself as I watched Keith with his mannerisms and the way he walked and moved around. It was just like Bob. Because Bob would have, Keith would have Bob's image, it was really heart-wrenching to see that. Close friends of Bob often think out loud and wonder, since Bob's passing in August of 1991, what if Bob were here today? Would he be the superintendent of schools? Would he be the president of Nichols College? The sky was the limit for Bob. Bob had charisma, and there were no doubters in his circle of believers. He was a friend among friends and would light up every room he entered and every sideline he coached or played on. He was a co-coach with John Mrazek in 1980. You've heard that story by a few of the football players. And Bartlett hadn't tasted turkey in 10 years. They had a guy by the name of Mingo Marino who owned Webster, lock, stock, and barrel. Bob Daigle motivated Bartlett's quarterback, Tom Miller, that year into stopping the 10-year hex as Bartlett won 14-8. And from that year on, the rivalry has changed in Bartlett's direction. As the story goes, however, on Tuesday before Thanksgiving, Daigle happened to show up at a popular gathering place in Southbridge. And as he walked into the popular gathering place, it was full of Southbridge people and Southbridge football fans. and Daigle announced, all 6'3", 260 pounds of him, the king is dead, the king is dead. And sure enough, on Thanksgiving morning, the king did die, and he was beaten 14-8. That is vintage Bob Daigle, passion and believing. Yes, the king died and was never the same after 1980. Marino would only win one more Thanksgiving Day game, as Langevin and Daigle stayed together for the next 8 years during the 1980s. Daigle continued as a loyal assistant and became Rainey's offensive coordinator. The king, Don Marino, had enough of Webster and he left for Florida, and we haven't seen him since.
He was a great coach.
He was.
He wasn't.
Sure, there are many more stories about Bob Daigle that inspired all of us. He left his football coach, Mike Vendetti, at Nichols College, where Bob is a Hall of Famer, as a dominating defensive tackle for 4 years. Vendetti's teams lost only 6 games during Daigle's 4 years of playing on 3 New England Football Conference championship teams. Bob always gave credit to Vendetti and Vendetti's 2 loyal assistants, Reedy Langevin and Ed Kunkel, for teaching him how to prepare for life circumstances. Bob loved all 3 of those great mentors. In closing, Bob Daigle loved his close friends, and as the saying goes, he would give you the shirt off his back. So I hope the message is clear. Bob Daigle loved being part of Bartlett High School and died as a Bartlett Indian, as he routinely was lifting weights in Bartlett's weight room on August 11, 1991, after he was done with his administrative work in the late afternoon. The only other person in the entire building was a maintenance worker. Bob finished his Bartlett High School duties forever that August afternoon and left us in the prime of his life for a place to go that he had been preparing for with so much faith. Bob Daigle prepared himself for that day in August, as his legacy now lives on for eternity. Bob, thanks for being a power of example for all of us and the ultimate contributor in so many ways. Until we meet again, Bob, Godspeed. Thank you.
Yeah.